do we bring up the
Sure.
attendance issue? 8,067. And I know, so Ian, I know you wrote about it. Do we just chalk this all up to the pandemic and people being concerned, which is a very valid reason? Or is there, again, do we go back to the previous years of all the other issues that underlie why the attendance is where it's at?
So here's the thing, and I've always felt this in Ottawa. If you ask 10 people why they're not going to a Senators game, you're going to get 10 different answers from people. Yep. Like, you're going to hear about ownership. You're going to hear about the arena location. Now you're going to hear about the pandemic. And now you're going to hear about vaccine policies. And now, so there's not one singular answer, but there is one singular problem, which is we can't go on like this much longer. We can't have an NHL team drawing 8,000 people a game and not understanding why that is. And I looked it up, and I could be wrong. I think that might be the lowest attendance ever at a Senators regular season game. I could be wrong. I think that might be it. Like, I went back 6 or 7 years. I couldn't find anything lower than 8,067. So to me, guys, Thursday night is a huge litmus test. You've got Brady Tkachuk in his first game back after signing a 7-year contract extension. We know he's going to play. It's not, is he going to play? No, he's playing. So that's taken out of the equation. You got Erik Karlsson coming back, and whatever you think about Carl, he was a super popular player here, iconic guy. So he's going to be in the lineup. So now you've got the guy that is probably going to be your new captain, your old captain. It's his little kind of passing of the torch. How many people are we going to see at the game? I'm going to put the number at, I don't know, maybe 13,000. I'm hoping that we get to 13,000. If we get fewer than 13,000 people, it's going to be a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm willing to be patient on this. I'm willing to understand people have concerns about COVID and the vaccine. And maybe if you have a child who's under 12, you don't want to take them into that environment. I get it. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to say, if we're getting under 10,000 people on a regular basis, somebody's got to say what is going on here, right?
The answer is obvious to me, and that is I have no issues whatsoever with people going, until there is a change in ownership, I am not supporting it. I will watch at home, and I'm okay with that. $30 for parking when you know you're out in the middle of Canada, I think is a joke. I think you need to lower the parking price to go, hey, we want you to come here. Let's not try and gouge you every time we get you here. Let's make it feasible for people to show up and enjoy a game. If you don't like the owner, at least be able to spend money watching a game you like to watch on the ice and not feel like you've got to spend $8,000 to go to a hockey game. Meth, sorry.
No. But for me, it's more, and just from a player's perspective, I like to say, like, you're not watching a bunch of has-beens or an old group out there. Like, this is a young, exciting team, right? And not just like first year rebuild. Like, we're starting to see them drive the bus. Like, I was there yesterday. I had fun. Like, how much fun, Ian, was it to watch that Batherson-Norris line? I mean, they're just so good, and they're controlling the play. That first goal, they had so much sustained pressure. I mean, really, as a whole, this team's got a really good thing going right now. And from a fan's perspective, it's just exciting to watch. So again, I'm not going to lean on all the other variables that we're talking about. Obviously, there's some obvious issues here at stake, but at play, I should say. But for me, just supporting this team the best we can. I know it's asking for a lot. I know the parking's expensive. Some of the concessions can be expensive. I heard issues about the concessions, although I didn't see it firsthand. I saw some chatter about it online on how the wait lines were long and they've had some staffing issues. But for the most part, what a great team and fun team to watch right now. So I'm hoping fans come out to watch these boys play on Thursday, because from a player standpoint, when you go out there and there's 15, 16, 17,000 people in the stands cheering you on, there isn't a better feeling in the world. So this group deserves that. Again, very sympathetic towards all the stuff that's happening, particularly with COVID. And we have to respect that. But for those that are willing to go out there, I encourage it, because it's a lot of fun to watch.
What I want to know, and I think is really interesting, is, and Wally brought it up, look, there is a disconnect between the organization and the fan base. Like, we're not making that up. It's tangible. You can see it in the attendance numbers. My question that I want to ask in kind of in an open fashion here, and then I'm sure I'll do it on The Athletic, is, like, are fans willing to forgive the owner as it pertains to the exodus of star players? Like, are we past that narrative now? Because in their defense, okay, if we look at this super objectively, they have started to fulfill the promises that they said that they were going to do. Drake Batherson is locked up for 6 years, Thomas Chabot for 7 more years, Brady Tkachuk for 7 more years. So if your biggest complaint was your favorite players kept walking out the door, My question is, do you still harbor a grudge? I'm literally asking that in an open manner because I want to know from Sens fans. I don't want to tell you what to think. I want to hear what you think.
It's a good question.
How do we feel about this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure it's just. I'm not sure
Sorry,
it's just the exodus of players. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on, whether or not it's how they treated the people in the public, how you've always got the owner going to run to Toronto to talk about how the team is operating and how they choose to avoid operating in the Ottawa market, how they try to isolate people, how they've treated their staff in the past. There's all kinds of issues that just don't have to pertain to the way the team performs on the ice. Listen, Mendes, we covered a team that went through bankruptcy and people still supported this team through thick and thin. And I think that group still exists. Those fans are still there. If not, they're more passionate now than they've ever been. I just think they're tired of the way this organization feels it's entitled to being in Ottawa and that everybody should just flock to their games and spend whatever and sit there and be quiet. And I just think that they're more in tune than that for this group of fans here in the city.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is going to be a really interesting storyline to watch because they've got a home game Thursday against San Jose, Saturday afternoon against the Rangers, which I like that. I like the afternoon start time. I like, the Rangers original 6 team. And then Alex Ovechkin, I think the Capitals come in. Maybe this is a conversation we have next week at this time, right? Maybe hey, listen, if 15,000 people come to each of those games, maybe we all need to stand down. But the 8,067 that showed up yesterday, that was worrisome for me, and it was troubling. And like Meth said, so this is a fun team to watch. This isn't a bunch of ragtag, place-holding veteran guys. These are guys who love playing in Ottawa here, and it's a fun team to watch.
So one final question on that, just so we're fair. What has the attendance been in some of these other Canadian cities? Do we know? Like, I obviously I'm an idiot. I don't do my homework when it comes to this stuff with the numbers. Do we know what Montreal and Toronto's been bringing in?
Montreal's high, but I don't have an exact number.
No, I'm just trying to make some comparisons so that we're not overanalyzing just Ottawa, but I don't know. I don't know the numbers.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, the first game for Toronto, which was on Wednesday against the Habs, it was pretty much a sellout, but it wasn't quite
okay.
Or the Saturday night. Saturday night they were a little bit under. I got the numbers right here. Toronto's home opener, they had 18,493, and then against Ottawa they had 18,211. Okay, so they're getting 18,000 at Toronto, but it's hard to compare because that's not.
It's a big city.
But the Bell Center had their first game with full capacity on Saturday, 21,105 sellout. Again, but for us, it's more about the other teams. Like Calgary's going to play their first game on Monday night.
Exactly.
Like maybe that's going to be a better comparison.
Calgary, right? Winnipeg, some better comparisons for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe we'll touch on attendance one more time, or just the way that you see it, because you worked in that office. No, but hang on a sec. It's not what you think it is, Matt. It's you've seen it on a different side, and you understand how hard that front office salespeople work to try and put seats in or people in the seats, right? So, I guess your reaction when you see that there's 8,000 people at a game, and I understand we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, well, that's the number one. Like, to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I'm not racing to go there. Like, I want to see how it goes first. Like, I want to see are there problems with concessions? Is it overrun? What's the mask uptick look like? Like, those are all the things that I kind of, as a parent who has a kid under 12, like, I want to sit back and see that first. Now, I applaud the people that go and support their team. Like, I have no issues if you do want to go. Like, it's kind of up to a lot of people to decide. So I think that does play a bit of a factor into it. But for me, I mean, it goes back to a mentality with the way things work is everything is about kind of solving immediate problems. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be all hands on deck to try and sell out Thursday, right? Everyone's going to bust their ass all this week. They're going to hit up their clients. They're going to email specials out. Social media, you're going to see some uptick there to try and fill the building for Thursday. And then Thursday's going to come. And then what? You got to do it again for the next one. And so I think it's been a long-term kind of lack in planning beyond the next couple of games, right? So I think if there was some more strategies in place to keep people around longer term, to even just build up fans, right? Like you gotta really kind of bring a lot of these people back now. And I think they've done that with some of the contracts they've gotten done, but Like there needs to be some long-term strategy. It seems like there's a new ticket thing every year, and every year they revamp the way they do season tickets, and there's not a lot of stability there. And I think people are just kind of, I don't know, they're waiting back to decide. I think the positive part, if I was to look at it, is there's still people that are supporting their team, right? And whether it's in the building or not, how do you translate and how do you get those people to come to the games? Because I would say, like, if you look at social media, people are digging this team. Like there's a lot of good chatter about it. So how do you translate
free tickets for everybody?
Well, there was a time when that was an answer, right? Is let's kind of maybe paper it a little bit and keep this sellout streak going. So you have these artificial things to fix it. It's like long term. What is it? Some people will say the owner. I mean, sure. I think if you can find a way to support this team in a way that you're comfortable, whether it's going to a game, buying season tickets, buying a jersey, or even just watching it. You know what, man? The number one thing that I think a lot of parents could do is maybe, I don't know, have your kids support the local team. You know what I mean? If you're a longtime Leafs fan or Habs fan or whatever,
it's funny you say that.
Keep it.
Yeah.
But
I was just going to touch on that briefly. I was at a pumpkin patch yesterday with my family. It was borderline a nightmare, but we got through it. And but there were a few kids teams there. Like I think there was a football team there. You could see they're all wearing the jackets. And a bunch of them had Toronto Maple Leaf hats on. You know what I mean? So that's just reinforcing your point. And we've this is the obvious that, you know, the team hasn't been around that long, right? So a lot of the older folks in town, parents and stuff, have grown up fans of Montreal or Toronto. So, you know, we got to try. I don't know how you do this, but at some point you think over time, kids are going to start growing up being legitimate Sens fans. You just got to get rid of that little influence that's coming from mom and dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're 30 years in, though. We're 30 years into this franchise.
It takes time, Wally. In fairness, it does take time, right?
But now you're a second generation Sens guy, right? Like, or possibly, right? Like, if you're 30 and you had a 20, you had a kid who's 10, like you should now be fully entrenched in a Sens.
Yes,
I guess
young
fandom.
Kids now. Because I'm younger than you, Wally, and Craig. I think I'm a little younger than you too, obviously. Yeah. So when I grew up, I wasn't even really a Sens fan until I got into like my teens, and then I started paying attention to players like Zdeno Chara and Chris Phillips, obviously who was there prior. But I really started noticing Ottawa and admiring some of those players when I got a little older. But my point is, when I was young, I didn't care for them, right? It was more like Boston because I liked Ray Bourque, and I liked the Montreal Canadiens because my dad liked them. So influence from your parents is huge, and friends and family and whatnot. But I think you're going to start to see a shift. So we can't just be all doom and gloom. I think it will change, but patience, obviously. I know, Wally, you say 30 years. I think it is going to change, and we'll see a shift at some point, especially with this group. Like, what kid out there doesn't like Drake Batherson or Brady Tkachuk or Thomas Chabot? Like, they've got some great corner pieces now that are very easy to cheer for.